Hi guys, thank you for joining our webinar today. We are very happy that that you want to participate and see what we have to talk about. We are having it with two great integrations, Aircall and Intercom, and yeah, we are very excited to have this little brief for you and just speak about and share information on how we can generate all the sales and performance during a quiet summertime, and especially after we have been in such a little crisis that we just came out of. Let's kick off and see what we have on the agenda today. So first of all, I'm just introducing ourselves and saying hi to you guys. And then we will go over to Tara, who will speak about Intercom and present their amazing tool for you. Tell a bit about what it can do and how it can help you guys. After that, we will talk with Aircall, and after we will speak about how we can show these things together inside of Plecto. So yeah, and then we will finish off with questions and then round up at the end. We will have plenty of time for questions at the end, so please just put them in the Q&A. So if you have any, and then we will look at them. Okay. So yeah, Terry, do you want to start off?
Definitely. Thank you, Genesis, and hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. I'm excited to dig into some conversational messaging strategies that can help drive sales and retention this summer. So next slide. So just a quick introduction about who I am. I'm Tara Larson. I've been at Intercom since early 2018. I lead our tech partnership efforts for North America and APAC. We have over 250 app and integration partners like Plecto and Aircall on today's call, and we work with them in several different ways between strategic, commercial, and technical partnerships. If you have any questions about our partner programs or Intercom, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter at Tara Ann Larson, or to follow up over email. We'll share that at the end. So excited to dig in. Next slide. So just to give a little bit of background in case you don't know what Intercom is. Intercom, we're a single place or platform for really every team at an internet business to communicate with its customers. And most importantly, we help you do that personally at scale. And so I'll explain what that means, but you can communicate with your customers on your website, inside your web or mobile app, and definitely via email as well. So there's lots of different ways to stay in touch. Next. What this looks like, just a quick visual, is at the top, there's the customer-facing business messenger. It's fairly iconic. It's what we're most well known for. Most of you have probably seen it and interacted with it on websites in the past, whether you knew it was Intercom or not. We have over 30,000 customers, and by our estimates, almost like everyone in the world has, through some business channel, interacted with an Intercom conversation at some point, which is pretty exciting. It's designed to be friendly, quick, and easy for customers to use, just to make it familiar and look and feel like the personal messaging apps you use in your free time. Our team developed this at the same time that Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp were launched, and we've always been focused, though, on helping businesses use messaging tools. So that's where underneath that customer-facing layer, we have a rich suite of management tools for teams. Those are for sales, support, and marketing teams to power those customer communications, to leverage all the customer data that we're tracking, whether that's through sign up or the actions they're taking in your product, and making it really, really flexible and powerful for teams to collaborate. Now, a call out too, since we do have some of our amazing partners here, at each layer of our product, we have apps and integrations to make sure that everything's fully integrated with your tech stack. You're getting all of the right data that's relevant to your team and your kind of goals, and that can be powered through our apps and integrations and fed back into Intercom or into other tools. So next slide. What this looks like, and this may look familiar, is a very friendly, easy to use kind of messaging tool that's on your website or in your app. And then on the right, you can kind of see how one of our apps works. So you'll hear from Aircall in just a couple of minutes, but we have a great kind of single click to call integration. So you can jump between the messaging capabilities and starting a phone call. So when you want to escalate for a VIP kind of sales or support opportunity, it's a really, really great way to kind of stay personal with those communications and to use the most relevant channel. Next.
Oops.
So the last thing I'll say about Intercom before we dig into the strategies are we have our platform for 3 core use cases. We help sales team with their lead generation capability for interacting with prospective customers. It's a great way to capitalize on demand in the summer as well as any time of the year. The second part is our customer engagement products that help you onboard, activate, and engage with your customers so that they're fully leveraging your product. They know about new things as they're coming out, and just so you can continue to develop those relationships. The last part is customer support. Your customers are the most kind of important thing to your business's long-term success. We want to make them happy, loyal customers and make sure they have everything they need. So a mix of self-serve, proactive, and human support. So any questions about Intercom afterwards, we can dig into during the Q&A, or you can reach out to me afterwards. But I want to share a few strategies that we actually use at Intercom to keep our sales performance high throughout the summer. Now we're coming up on the end of our second quarter and second half right now. So keeping that momentum is absolutely critical for us during July and August. Even if people are in and out of the office, we definitely encourage teams to take breaks, especially during this extra challenging year. So there's some good news. Technology and some of these new strategies can help make sure that that's possible without losing momentum. So next slide. Now, we focus first and foremost all of our strategies on helping you drive faster growth through better relationships. This is our brand promise, and it's our belief, and it's what's worked for our team as well as our kind of 30,000 customers that are growing with us. Next slide. The 2 things that we mean by better relationships is using speed and personalization as your competitive advantage. Now, it's not always the best product that actually wins a customer. A lot of the recent reports, depending on what you're reading, show that between 50 or in some cases up to 80% of customers end up buying from the first company that responds to their inquiry. So it's a really, really important tactic to keep your kind of closed won rate high, and even more important if you're experiencing any fluctuations in demand over the summer. So just always kind of make your North Star that speed and personal approach. Next. Now, to highlight this too, you don't have to take my word for it. We've dug into our own research as well as looked at industry leading reports from Adweek and Forrester, and it's 80% of customers that actually are more likely to do business with a team that offers them a personal experience that feels relevant to them. Nearly 70% of customers talk about wanting to work with companies that value their time and keep that process efficient and on kind of the schedule that the prospect or customer needs. And it's also almost 70% of customers too that prefer to interact with a messaging platform. So a lot of these behaviors have changed over the last few years. We're all accustomed to multitasking, leveraging Slack or WhatsApp and text message to communicate with our friends and our personal lives. And that has now actually really fully shifted into the business world too. Buyers want to engage and ask their questions in the most convenient channel. So encourage you to think about, if you don't have one, a messaging strategy, whether it's Intercom or something else. It's just, you're missing out on a preferred channel if you're not activating it. Next. So I'm going to dig into, I know we don't have much time today, but 3 quick hitting tips for things that we're doing on our team and can help you with your business goals. So think about setting up a real-time sales strategy. What this means is using personalized welcome messages and live chat to greet your website visitors in real time during business hours. When you're actually available and looking to speak to your prospects, let them know that, let them engage with your team, especially if you have defined your ideal customer profile or have different segments that are probably higher intent buyers. Leveraging a real-time sales strategy can help you capitalize on their interest and accelerate the time to close dramatically. With our team, we've actually seen some of our personalized strategy and real-time sales tactics increase our time to close by 32%, and the personalization strategies helping us win 52% more deals. So think about high intent areas on your welcome page, on your website homepage, a message that greets the customer, a prospect, and on high intent pages like your pricing page, that's where you can actually see a pretty dramatic lift by helping answer questions or encouraging someone to perhaps jump on a call using Aircall, book a meeting for later if the time's not right, but just don't lose that momentum. You want to make sure that everyone who visits your website is someone that you can speak to and start having a personal interaction with. Next. 2, now we don't expect you to work 24/7. The good news is that you can still be personal with some of the automation tools that now exist. Bots and some of the apps and integrations have improved dramatically in the last 3 to 5 years to a way that they actually can still feel friendly and personal. So allow those tools to work to your advantage. Set up bots that can schedule a meeting or that can qualify your leads on your website for times when you can't be online. This is a great way to see a lift in conversion by allowing those people who do want to talk to you, if it's after hours, just setting something up that you can jump on next time you're back in the office. And then next slide. And our third strategy is actually about how you can look to your current customers to drive growth and some expansion opportunities. So your overall business health and growth number is a combination of your new business and your expansion business revenue. We have a saying at Intercom from our chief strategy officer that retention is the new conversion. You want to, more so than ever in the summer, focus on activating and growing your current customers. Most of us, just from looking at kind of the registrations, are working in subscription kind of SaaS businesses ourselves, where you can actually get more revenue by growing usage or selling additional products. And so don't overlook your existing customers if you're experiencing any fluctuations in lead flow. There also may be some areas to dig into your customers to help them get more value out of your product, to grow with you, and that can help kind of keep your growth trajectory a little bit more predictable over the summer. And there are a few ways too that you can combine your support strategy, your conversational support strategy, into your sales growth strategy as well. And that's a big recommendation I would make, is to not overlook those customers and dig into them anytime you see fluctuations. So we'll go to the next slide. So just quickly, this is very high level, but how do we do it? Because we actually kind of practice what we preach at Intercom. So for our lead gen and engage use cases, we use conversational marketing and engagement tactics ourselves. So we focus on that speed and personalization by using our live chat experience, especially for our ideal customer profiles, making sure that messenger shows up, routes to the right SDR sales team. And from there, let them actually build a relationship. We try to stand out with visual content and videos, so you can see on the right too. One of our sales strategies is using free trials to help people experience our product before they purchase. But we don't just send them into a trial and let them disappear. We actually greet them with a video. It makes it feel like someone is personally reaching out to them. And if they reply, we can route that message back to Megan herself, or if she's out of the office too, someone else from the team can pick it up. And that keeps that really personal experience going. And then the last point is to not be afraid to, especially over the summer, if you want to stay top of mind, leverage all the channels available. So definitely reach out to them through your app or email and some of the traditional channels, but you can also connect on social media. Engage with them on LinkedIn is a really great place to connect and to share relevant pieces of content or messaging that helps you stay top of mind, which can help accelerate kind of your sales process. Next slide. And then for thinking about your current customers as a growth channel as well, we've recently introduced the conversational support funnel. This is an exciting time in the support kind of space because the proactive support tools and the ability to anticipate the problems or opportunities for your customers, it's better than ever before. So you can use indicators from actions customers are taking in your app or things you know about their business to help answer questions or to highlight new parts of your product. So you may be able to orient them to additional features that could give value to them and also be an expansion opportunity. The second layer of that funnel is allowing, stay here for one more second, is the ability to leverage self-serve tools, and then remembering to escalate things to human support for feedback, complex issues, or sales opportunities. That's a combination of these three creates a really powerful kind of flow and allows you to identify when it makes sense to use your human time and your team's resources versus actually allowing the customer to navigate on their own. Next. So how is it working for us? We're in it with everyone else where we're trying to grow as quickly as possible, but we're proud that we have over 150 million ARR currently, and we're trusted by over 30,000 customers. But I won't make you take our word for it. I'll go to the next slide and just leave the team with a quote from one of our customers, Get Accept. They have a great platform for managing your whole kind of sales and contracting process. And by using Intercom for their sales, marketing, and support, they've been able to grow their revenue by 450% in the last year. They're a great example of implementing some of these real-time sales strategies. When they introduced the messenger and a personalized greeting on their pricing page, they saw an 8% lift in new leads. They've also implemented some support strategies to allow customers to self-serve, which frees up some of their team's time to focus on winning new business and continue to build out their product. So lots of great insights there. We have a case study from them as well as several other customers, but hopefully that inspires a few new ideas for your team and shares a little bit about what we're doing at Intercom to maintain momentum this summer. Thanks everyone. I'll pass it off to Megan from Aircall.
Yes, hello guys. Awesome, thank you. Tara, thanks for sharing that information there. Excited to chat with you guys. My name's Megan. I am an account executive here with Aircall. A little under a year actually, but it's been going great so far. But yeah, excited just to chat a little bit more. We can go to the next slide there. Perfect. Great. So a little bit about Aircall. So we are a 100% software-based phone system, which means you can make, receive, handle all of your calls directly through either a desktop app or a mobile application. There's a lot of different advantages to that, but I think really the claim to fame, in my opinion, just from chatting with customers, is twofold. So one, it's going to be the ability to use the system, get started, but it's also how quickly we have the ability to integrate with all of the different tools that you're working with, just to make that be a really seamless process. If you want to skip to the next slide there. Okay, perfect. So as Tara mentioned, we align really closely with a lot of the tools that are already in the toolbox, things like, Intercom or HubSpot and Salesforce. And as an account executive myself in sales, obviously my goal is to spend all of my time trying to pursue those sales and a lot less time logging the activities that I have. And that's really where we fit into play, is having a plug and play integration, seamlessly logging these activities, just to ensure that we are having a really personal touch as well with your customers, or potentially even your prospects. So for example, having the ability to click in and view your customer's profile, within HubSpot, for example. That's really where we come into things. I think adding a tool like Aircall definitely takes away from a lot of the grunt work that folks in sales and support are often dealing with, and can be a huge value add, especially in these downtimes with these summer's months. We want to make sure that the conversations that we're having are personalized, that we recall what happened on that prior conversation. We can review those notes, so that's definitely a huge value add there as well. We can go to the next slide. Okay, great. And just to kind of build off of what we have here with Aircall, obviously the conversations that you have, they need to be personalized, but we also want to make sure that they're quality conversations, which means having conversations without jitter or lag, or being able to, hear the other person on the line, obviously. So what Aircall's done is really built upon a variety of different carriers that are handling that reliability, to ensure that, you're not going to have any concerns while you are on those calls. We can go to the next slide there. And then, as I mentioned earlier, definitely a big piece is being able to set up really seamlessly. Adding in additional numbers, customizing your greeting, making sure that we really do have that personalization. Additionally, with managing the system itself, something that we love to do in these slower times is we want to make it fun. We want to have games. We want to see how many calls did you make. Of those calls, how many had a tag where we scheduled a demo or we booked a sale. So I think being able to manage the system really easily is really crucial in order to not only have a successful support or sales team, but also make some of these downtimes a lot more fun and competitive. We can go to the next slide there. So that's really it on the Aircall side of things. But again, if you have any questions in the interim, we will share some contact information below.
Thank you, Megan. Now there were some good presentations, and luckily we are, at least at Plecto, happy to use both Aircall and Intercom, and are really happy customers. So I can also vouch for everything that both Tara and Megan just said. Of course, performance is a lot about how we perform in terms of our customers, and we need happy customers in terms of, yeah, it's pretty essential for our business. Where we would like to also put the focus is on the employees, which I will briefly talk a bit about. First, my name is Christine. I'm the head of sales here at Plecto. I started 4 years ago after I fell in love with Plecto, basically at my previous job, where we were using Plecto, of course, and I was extremely surprised with what basically a dashboard could do to a big organization and its culture, basically, in terms of not support, performance. I'll talk about support. Yeah, if you can skip to the next slide. So one of the first points that we usually make here at Plecto is that seeing is believing. Before we can start to believe in a goal that we set for ourselves or for our team, we need to be able to see it. So the first step is visualizing your goals, your performance towards actually boosting it at the end, where you would naturally be able to. Now we here have an example with Intercom and Aircall, which luckily both of the systems have really sophisticated good data that we are able to import to Plecto and visualize in custom views. So what we'd like to do is giving both managers as well as employees a way to interact with their data in a proactive way instead of a reactive way, where you would be able to naturally show leaderboards, what is actually possible, especially in these slower times, or if you're working from home, visualize it on a TV. What are my colleagues doing? How are we performing within a team? How far are we from the goal when you can't feel the atmosphere in the office as you're used to, but from home, what are my colleagues actually doing right now? Can I send them a text saying they did a good job or anything else? Yeah, next slide. Yes, so now of course there's a lot of focus on how can we improve performance, as I just mentioned, working from home. Luckily, technology is improving a lot, and we are able to deal with our customers and with our business from home. But the whole atmosphere around an office is extremely important in terms of being up to date, both as an employee and as a manager. Imagine going out from a meeting or sitting in your car and being completely up to date with what's going on in a team. Do I need to go out and give my employees a high five or my colleagues, anything like that? All you need to do is just to look at your latest push notifications to be completely up to date. Yeah. Yes, and now for the fun part. What we would like to do, I've never yet talked with that many employees who didn't like hearing when they did a good job. Of course, one of the things is also seeing it and showing it. It's not always fun to stand up and yell in an office or from your home that you just closed the deal or you just made a customer happy with going from being unsatisfied or anything like that. But also being instantly aware of the success you just had. So what we of course want to do is not only giving the manager access to pull a report on the latest successes, but also visualizing it to the whole team. Everyone likes to hear from their manager that they did a great job, but we can undermine what it do to an employee, to myself also, when an employee all of a sudden stands up and give you a high five for just having an amazing success in either just getting a great satisfaction score and a good comment from a customer in Intercom. It can be when your team just reached a new record in number of calls completed in Aircall. All of these different successes and milestones is something we of course want to visualize, but in a fun way. Performance should be fun. At least if you want to boost it, you need to know what's going on, but you also need to know when you're having a success. Success breeds success. So of course, we want to visualize that as well. Yes, the next slide. Nice. Last thing I want to briefly touch on is competing. One thing is these hardcore competitions. What we want to do is create a friendly competition environment, especially in these times where everything can be a bit rougher. It's quieter in the office. You can have some other issues in terms of reaching your goals with customers, etc. So what you can do is, of course, also set up competitions. It should be easy. Also, when your manager is out of the office, shouldn't wait for anyone to set something up for you. Have a supervisor in a few seconds set up a competition on custom KPIs. In this case, it could be the duration both from calls in air calls and a duration of time used on conversations in Intercom. Sum it up all together. You can compete location versus location. It could be team versus team to spark this friendly competition and start the whole team environment or team atmosphere around performance. That it's not always just one-to-one who's the best, but how can we also approve or improve together as a team if we start to coach each other, help each other towards custom goals. Yes, that was actually what I had.
Great, thank you for these presentations. Let's go in for a question round. Christine, can you find oh, there.
You have it?
See it? Can you see it?
I have a slide showing discussion round.
So I can see the first question that came in is it's directed at Plecto. What competitions do you do directly in your Plecto sales and support teams?
We do a lot. We compete a lot, both on not necessarily the hardcore KPIs. It's also who can do the most push-ups, creating manual data sources for that. But of course, in support, we do a lot on CSAT. Who have the best satisfaction guarantee. I don't know why I say that. The best satisfaction score. Who have right now we have who can get the lowest first reply time and I'm just looking up at the screens to see what they do in support right now. It's incredible to see when if we have an issue in one specific KPI, it takes a few seconds to show it at a screen. Let everyone be aware that this is a focus we have right now, and seeing how quickly it can switch to people actually starting to talk about. Did you see? Can you see my first reply time? Can you see how? Did you see how low I got it yesterday? Just creating these data-driven conversations around what is the company focus right now, or department focus right now. In sales, we have a lot of competitions all the time. We usually have point competitions, not necessarily on revenue. We always show revenue, we always show hit rate, all of these very normal KPIs that we use in sales, conversion in marketing. So also to compete between sales and support, we usually make these point systems. So completing a call is X amount of points. Solving a conversation in Intercom is X amount of points. Of course, showing when you get new points with notifications, but also getting starting competitions where employees from different departments can start to help each other. So a fun thing, just create a competition where you have one from sales, one from support, so they start to help each other in a group that isn't necessarily the team, and see what happens. It's pretty fun.
That's similar to things we do at Intercom too. I think we care a lot about first response time. That's a big one for us, to the kind of points around speed and personal interaction, and those are relevant both to sales and support teams. And then a key measurement is the conversation rating that allows you to understand how the prospects or the customers are perceiving the support they're receiving. And so those are some of the metrics too that we can measure and then visualize in Plecto and gamify for those teams.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, it's pretty. Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say something to like add on the sales side of things. Is something we love doing is, what's a customer that said no and that came back? Or what's a really creative way that you brought someone back to that table, or at least they gave you an answer? Like, I know from an SDR, like that outbound sales side of things, being able to even just get a response sometimes is basically half the battle. So I think that's something we love to highlight and share, whether that's in a Slack channel or via email or highlighting someone in a meeting. Is there's different kinds of wins. There's wins that are numerical, there's sales, they're monetary, but there's also what are those wins that really made you feel good, like, okay, I'm making an impact. And I think that's also an important one that doesn't get mentioned.
Yeah, exactly.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
I see some other questions coming in here too. Can you guys see those questions, or do you want me to read them?
Can you read them? Because I don't think I can.
Sure. Yeah. So first, thank you, Mark, for that great question. And moving on to an anonymous attendee who's posted, what are some successful tactics your managers have supported you to use when numbers are low, especially during the summer months with the pandemic going on? And then a follow on to that question, which is similar, is moreover, during downtime, what tools do you utilize to make up for this lull in order to still meet your number? I can start, and then we'll kind of each share how our teams are doing it. So I think this is a great question, and it's definitely worth acknowledging that this year is not how anyone expected it to be. I'm encouraged by the progress in Denmark and EMEA and around the world, but certainly in America and where I live in California, the pandemic is very much ongoing, and there are some challenges associated with that. So there are some changes in consumer behavior and changes in website traffic. So I think we've approached it with two different strategies. One is a lot of what I was discussing is about really capitalizing on anyone who does visit your website. Don't let them come and stay anonymous, or even if they have converted into a lead and you reached out once or twice, don't let that die and give up hope. Continue to engage in personal and creative ways to just make sure that you're really capitalizing on anyone who is taking the time to visit, knowing that your sales cycle could be a little bit different because there are different challenges that prospect may be facing throughout that sales cycle. And so don't be discouraged if your patterns are a little bit different. Continue to be personal and creative and stick with it. So that's for anyone, any lead flow or traffic that you are receiving, but also recognizing that especially in certain industries, there are some lulls occurring and changes in behavior. Some of our tips and tactics, I'd say an example is what we're doing today. Think about the tools and products that are complementary and join forces. It's a cheesy saying, but I do really believe in the power of partnerships as sort of like 1 + 1 = 3. You can leverage the expertise and the synergies of your products. You can divide the work involved to do something that drives interest and awareness. So hopefully some of you are learning something about Intercom, Aircall, and or Plecto today, and can share that too with people in your network. It's anything you can do to raise awareness and drive demand. It can be really powerful. So think of partnerships, think of additional channels or ways to stay relevant and top of mind. That's something that we're doing. We're leaning into partnerships. And then the other area where we're doing is we're getting more creative with our outbound tactics, just knowing that this year has been different than expected. And so we're not sitting back. We're leveraging some outbound strategies to actually find the best fit customers, let them know who we are and why we can help and how we can solve some of their new challenges. Depending on your business, we're seeing different patterns where some businesses are actually experiencing less traffic and they are hesitant to spend money because they're concerned about their budgets, and others are actually receiving so much demand for sales and support that they actually don't have time to research new products and services. And so getting in front of both of those audiences can be valuable for different reasons. And there's different reasons why they might not be coming to you, but that shouldn't mean you should shy away from approaching them directly. That's what we're doing at Intercom.
Definitely. I think something that I take away from that question is, of course, on the sales or support side, but it's also, I'm told as a, sales executive to lead with empathy, to understand what maybe financial issues they could be struggling with and what that looks like, but to also provide that same empathy for myself and my teammates. Meaning, yeah, there might be a lull, and that doesn't mean that the product's not great or that you're a bad salesperson. It means that we're in the middle of a pandemic. And so the same empathy we lead with customers, we need to also apply to ourselves. For someone that's very driven by numbers, this was really important as my manager to provide me that grace, to look at the big picture and not just focus in on maybe what these couple months may look like. I think on the interactions with customers, it's really doubling down on making them count. What's really valuable? What are they looking to solve? And to sell what that future self will look like. Yes, we're in the middle of pandemic. Maybe you have more time now to reevaluate what that tech stack looks like. And let's think about, where do you want to be in 6 months? Because we know where we are right now. Let's try and figure out really the long-term goal that they're trying to solve and how our product can fit into that. So that's two little personal tips, and then as a salesperson tips.
Yeah, I think that's really, really good put. I don't know how to say it better than than what you guys just did. I would say that our biggest exercise have definitely been working with our own mindsets, to be completely honest. After the first panic of what will we do now is, as you both mentioned, figuring out how to lead with empathy. Also, figuring out how do I get myself up. How do I get myself out? One thing is the business, but also myself out of a fixed mindset and into a seeing it maybe in a new perspective. I think it have been really, really healthy for a couple of our minds at this office, at least. Another thing was for us to look into the product. How can we help our existing, we are focused a lot on our existing customers. How can we help in this particular time? We were a bit stuck in people are not in the office. How can they visualize this on the TV? How can we emphasize successes when we can't create a new atmosphere necessarily at people's homes? So we have adjusted a lot in the product also to be a better fit for, could be a future of working more from home, seeing where we are going, where our customers are going, and figuring out pretty much along the way along with our customers.
Christine, I think that's a great call out, that it's an important time to be agile and creative. So your example of looking at the product and making enhancements, or at least advising on how it can be used more effectively in this new environment, we at Intercom have done some similar things. We've changed a few of our launch timelines. We've pulled up some of our resources around the conversational support funnel to come out earlier because we recognized that they were valuable now. And so we've been adapting as well and thinking about what are the needs of our customers, how can we stay with them, and that's helped us stay really positive as well as drive more momentum. So I think that's, take care of yourselves and allow yourself to be creative. And you might have had a really great plan for 2020 that did not include some of these challenges, and I think reframing those challenges into new opportunities and remembering that everyone is now in different ways getting back to work and looking to ramp up some changes for the fall and what's ahead, and that can go a long way.
Yeah, something else is, Christine, I love that you talked about really focusing on the existing customers, because I think this is the time that you build a lifetime customer. How you treat and support people now will determine their brand loyalty moving forward, because ultimately people stay with companies that support them. So I definitely love highlighting the doubling down on supporting those existing customers.
Thank you.
I think we have a couple more. I think we have a couple more questions in here. Let's see. Tara, do you want to read one off?
Sure. So let's jump down to another question here from Mark. For new self-serve onboarding leads, would you know your metric objective of quantity of contact points for a said lead before you consider it cold? And he gave an example of 3 to 10 auto messages, email or in-app that would be based on usage, 1 or 2 direct calls by rep, any other reach. And do you change those metrics during slower time?
Yeah, I actually think this is a really, really good question. A good question. I think it's we are still looking to find the magic answer. We have actually tried not to change too much. We found when it's a busy time, or when it's not as slow as it is right now, we know what our customers, what is actually working. So we haven't had a good success with turning it up just because our business is slow, then calling our customers more. Yeah, I don't know if you guys have a golden answer.
I mean, we have something pretty similar. We don't really change our metrics too much. I will say that like reach or outreach that's been really successful for me is LinkedIn. I think people are definitely on that significantly more. So just looking at what you have here, you know, these auto messages and those direct calls, I think like LinkedIn would be another resource that I would utilize. And I think just to touch on something that Tara mentioned earlier is really that personalization. So doing the best to make those touch points be as personalized as possible. But typically it would be kind of on par here, and we don't actually change too much in terms of the gold metrics on this side.
So at Intercom, for onboarding, trial leads, or new customers, we don't have a set in stone number of touch points, but we do think of a multi-stage onboarding experience where we're first welcoming and orienting the customer to Intercom and our product. We actually use that first opportunity to have them re-express their intent and use case. And that's really important because then it guides the rest of their onboarding journey with us and which kind of product tours and which resources we'll send them. What we've found is when we personalize the onboarding flow based on the goals that the customer has, we see a very significant increase in activation and engagement. And so leveraging, whether that's if you have a first call or outreach where you connect with that prospect, just make sure you're very clear on what they're trying to achieve. And then don't be afraid to help guide them through that journey. If you have a 14-day trial or you have a 30 to 90-day activation window you're trying to engage with, that's kind of how we think about it. Be persistent. Now, leveraging in-app messages can be really, really great because that's only going to show up when the prospect or new customer is in your app and it's relevant. Those we don't really limit the number of those, because as you're exploring different parts of the product, those messages help share additional insights and let the customer know that you're also available for questions or feedback. In terms of activation, kind of emails and leveraging other channels like push notifications or other outreach forms, that's where you can be a little more strategic on the number of messages you're sending and the cadence. Try to localize them to their time zone for greatest kind of reach, and then think about the complexity of your product. If you have a fairly straightforward onboarding experience, maybe 1 to 5 outreaches. If you have a lot of things you're covering, don't be afraid to share more, especially if you're seeing open rates kind of continue to stay high and engagement levels as well. Now, if you start to see those dipping, then it may not be the onboarding experience itself, could be something with the design of the campaign. So just, yeah, I'd say there are lots of metrics for marketers to look at, but for us, especially for in-app messages, use them to your advantage and don't shy away from sending too many. For outreach, I think in the summer months, be respectful of your customers and prospects, but don't worry if you're not hearing back on the first or second attempt. I would say in my experience myself and in my professional networks too, I'm not going to have the stats top of mind, but there are often times where 5 messages from a product or service are necessary before I even get around to getting started. And so I think you can build that out for your business over time, but it could be 1, it could be 5, it could be 10, and that could be the right answer. And I think the biggest thing too is a little bit of hustle while done with empathy and respect for the customer can actually be a good thing to help stay current and top of mind.
Nicely put.
Great. So maybe we do a couple other questions here. So there's another question on just thinking about how do you create that more predictable pipeline? And so along with the summer months, are there other times throughout the year that you find to be slower than usual? What do you think this is, and what tactics does your team use to overcome it?
For us, yeah, we see it twice a year during the summer and during the holiday days during the Christmas. We do a lot of newer campaigns, but what we do, we also have a lot of inbound, not so much outbound, but we retarget a lot of old, it could be churned, it could be lost opportunities, clients that once upon a time had an interest in the product, trying and reaching out to them again. I know that both Intercom, Aircall, and Plecto have products that are improving all the time. So yeah, customers that wasn't a success a couple of years ago can be a perfect fit now.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's always going to be that holiday lull, and it's a lot of re-engagement campaigns. It's highlighting what new features you've added or how you've improved something. It's running reports well in advance, maybe in one of your CRMs, to figure out the close loss reason. Can that be fixed now? Is that no longer relevant? Just to try and get someone on, back on track. So I think it's really just about knowing what your lulls are and trying to plan for them in advance.
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. The one thing I noticed too with like the holiday time frame is once January hits, people they're running, they're ready to go. So I think it's trying to engage those folks that really want, the new year will be this year that they get all their software together. I think it's trying to find those folks a little bit earlier and engage with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys both said it really well. I think seasonality affects every business for holidays and key touch points throughout the year, and especially for the ones that are coming. Plan ahead. I love what Megan said about pulling reports early and getting ahead of that, so that you can both build up your pipeline in advance and anticipate the kind of lull and maybe even take some time off yourself, and then also remember to hit the ground running afterwards. And to kind of adapt the metrics that you're using to measure the time to close for any of your leads or accounts, because if you know they're taking a vacation, that's sort of just time taken away from that standard process and evaluation cycle. And so you can kind of expand those timelines around the holidays, but also it's something to think about now as we're going to soon be shifting gears from the summer to the fall to really capitalize on that part of the year when everyone is looking to do business and get a lot organized with their tech stack and business tools before the end of the year so that they can hit the ground running in January.
Yeah.
I think we have time for one short question.
Okay, there's one here about summer cold calls that maybe we can tackle and then follow up with anything else afterwards. So during the summer, cold calls are normally less effective given that many people are on vacation. What are some creative ways that your teams have engaged with prospects if they're not at their phone? And there was another attendee that agreed they've encountered the same problem, and are there more creative tips for outbound?
Yeah, I will have to say that again, we have a bit outbound, but actually not as much as you guys might have.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I mentioned earlier, I think LinkedIn is a huge tool that people are really starting to come around to. So people may not be on their phone, but maybe they're in a cabin somewhere and they have LinkedIn as an app. That's something that they're much more likely to check and look into. So I think that's definitely a tool that we've doubled down on, is just having those touch points there, because there's also a lot of information you can find on LinkedIn. There's a lot of ways that you can figure out what they're passionate about. What does their bio say? What's their background? Do you have anything in common? So I think having a couple touch points that might not be the more standard routes will definitely help, especially in those summer timeframes.
Plus one to that, I think being creative and omni-channel, like just think outside the box here. If you're using LinkedIn too, you can connect with those prospects and comment on whatever they're sharing or posting. And there's some creative hacks too, where you can actually send video or voice messages through those. So there are ways you can stand out, be personal, be different, but also meet them where they're spending time. I think in general too, your prospects and customers will have different preferences. For some people will want to receive a phone call, some will want to receive an email, some will want to be messaging with you on on the website or in LinkedIn or something completely different. So recognize that and try to lean on the more asynchronous channels during the summer months, and ready to kind of follow up with a phone call, or you can offer to schedule it at their convenience. I think those tactics go a long way, and you can also reach out more times on those messaging platforms. For creative tactics too, I think back to something I said earlier is, you know, you can film yourself with a little video, you can be creative, you can do partner events, you can just think of other ways to show value. There's a lot of great tools that help you understand what your target customers are already using. And so if you have synergy with their existing tech stack or an integration, like fortunately we do here between Plecto, Intercom, and Aircall, highlight that in your outreach. So I think some of those tactics that aren't just your standard outbound playbook, that are a little more creative, require a little more work, but can still be done at scale, can help you generate some more pipeline as well.
Nice.
Amazing.
Yes, and I think that that is it for today. I know that we didn't have a lot of time because we all want to speak a lot about our products, and we didn't get to say all that we, of course, wanted to say about the products. So I would strongly recommend people to get in touch with people underneath here. So if you have inquiries for Intercom, you can write for Tara. If you have inquiries for Megan, you can write on her mail. And if you have any inquiries for Plecto, you are very welcome to contact me. We are very happy that you wanted to participate, and yeah, thank you for today, and thank you for being here.